Welcome. Welcome to day 14. Today I want to talk about balance, the balance of life. And I like to use the analogy of, sorry about that, the analogy of the Jenga game. You know that Jenga game, the play, where you have this big stack of building blocks and you have to pull out a block without touching another one and put it on top of it until the whole tower falls down. Well, this Jenga play is quite a beautiful analogy for how we live life. Because if I look at life, it needs to be some sort of balance in all areas of life. I mean, if we look at how a thriving life feels, then every area of our life needs to gain energy, needs to create energy instead of become a draining area of energy. So if we look again at the play of Jenga, we pull out these building blocks and we do it from the middle or from the bottom and we put it back on the top. And it's almost like you can visualize the body as the Jenga tower. And actually, the more we take out of it, the more energy we take out of our system. So the more energy gets drained out of our system, the more we put on top in our head to try to control life. So you could see the top of the Jenga tower as our mind, our head that needs to control everything. And as soon as the bottom, our alignment is failing, we're not rooted, we're not grounded, we're not aligned with ourselves. It becomes so unstable that our mind tries to control it. And then obviously it cannot control everything. And then life will show us where it's out of balance. And then the whole tower falls, like in the Jenga play, and we have to, we either get ill or something tragedy happens to us, or we get pulled back into like this sudden experience or unexpected experience that makes us realize, like, oh, what the hell am I doing? I need to recover myself. I need to get back into alignment with myself. But most of us aren't even aware when their life is falling apart that it's actually up to them to take a deep look inside. So these signs of life that show you that you're out of balance are the biggest gifts actually to you, to gain back your life and to shift the dynamics instead of like draining your energy in certain areas of your life, trying to see that why is it draining there? Why am I not fulfilled in that area? Why am I even avoiding that area? Because it feels so uncomfortable, because there is perhaps pain or fear underneath it. And we can avoid those areas for a lifetime, but it will show up again and again until we learn what we had to see there. So for you now, it's an invitation to look at your own life and see where you're out of balance. You can just look at the main areas, whether it's your circumstances of living, so which includes also often your financial comfortability, or the possibilities to live a comfortable life with food and shelter. If that's imbalance enough that it doesn't drain energy, or your workplace or your job or whatever it is you're doing. Some people love their job and still it's a very draining source of energy. It costs a lot of energy due to other things that creates that job than just the job itself. So they might like their role and their function and their position. But if it's not giving the fulfillment and if it's not in balance that it gains enough energy and that it costs more energy than it gains, then it's still a draining job and it costs you too much energy, and you get into this stage of like you need a holiday to recover, or you need or you get into a burnout, or you get into a stress reaction. So then it's out of balance. It needs attention. Then you need to find where it's out of balance. And just overstepping the fact that you like your job and that job fits you, that role fits you, is often not enough, because the circumstance might not fit you. Or you can look at your relationships, like I shared about yesterday. When are your relationships, especially the intimate ones? are too much out of balance because you have not paid it enough attention. You've taken out these building blocks from the Jenga game. You've taken out too much of these building blocks, and your relationship gets unstable. And you don't pay enough attention, and then you are suddenly surprised that this relationship goes in a direction you don't like. And you might face a divorce, or you might want to divorce because you feel so unsafe and unstable in your relationship, and it's draining. You lose the connection with your partner. So instead of working on the relationship, we often avoid going home, and we try to get distracted by distracted by other positive gaining other positive input because we don't get that input within our relationship. But that's not helping it. That's again taking us out of balance. So every time we need to find at its core what's missing and what's out of balance and where it's draining. Another area of your life might be your family relationships. You might have had endured a lot of pain in your youth and you haven't been able to look at it. And then all of a sudden, in whatever stage of life you're at, it comes up and you just have to face it. And if you do it in that moment when it comes up, it's a very natural moment to do it. And then you can release of that draining energy. But if you ignore it again, it's another block out of the Jenga tower that you take out of it. And sooner or later, it will be come back into your face again because you have to look at it. Another area of your life is your grounding, your alignment, your self-realization, which is for most of us the overlooked area because we have not been taught that way. That's what this whole series is about becoming aware of yourself and aligning with this inner frequency that keeps us grounded and that also gives us the empowerment. That is the whole foundation of this whole Jenga tower. So if that foundation is not there, then you will fall down one day. And you might literally just hit the ground. You might literally just out of nowhere fall on the street or fall in your house. And that is absolutely a sign from the universe, from life, telling you like, you have overlooked something. You have overlooked something for too long, and we're going to give you, whatever the we is, but your unconsciousness or your consciousness is going to give you a sign like you have to wake up now. You have to see what's out of balance. So another area of your life might be your social relationships. They might, especially in my life, for years it had been so out of balance. It was literally draining for me that I had friends that did not give me energy, and I could not show myself. And I could not understand what was wrong. I thought I was so nice to them and so friendly and so open and so giving. And at the same time, looking back at it, I was not giving so much. I was more like pleasing. I didn't show up for myself. I didn't show up who I was. I could not because I didn't feel safe in these environments. So I changed quite a lot of my friendships. I let go of friendships and they let go of me naturally, and sometimes with an intense argument or conflict. But now I can see why it was necessary because it was just out of balance. And of course, another big one where we need to be in balance is our health, just our physical condition. Do we spend enough time to keep our body healthy? And I don't mean that we have to get very in. Well, we can, but we don't have to be super healthy person in the sense of like we only eat healthy food and we exercise 3 hours a day and we just focus on it too much. Then it's also out of balance. And I mean, we have to give all these areas equal amount of attention and energy in order for it to give us enough energy back. Otherwise, it's again another building block out of the Jenga tower that's take too much energy. So every area requires attention, at least during the week, and if not, during the day already. And then we, of course, have our own, if we are parents and have our own family, that's another challenge. How do we balance those frequencies, how we balance those energy, attention, um, focused. Like we want to have our job, we want to be a good parent, we want to give space to our children, we want to give it attention to our children. At the same time, we also want to have time for ourselves. So constantly balancing out is not like you're going to do this whole listing every day, like I'm going to give so much to this and so much to that. That's not how it works. It really works the other way around, just being very, very present in that moment and feel what is asked from life from you. If this is the moment where you really need to focus on your job, then that's the moment, because that's literally what's being asked. And a couple of hours later, it can be your family who is asking that attention, or you would like to give that attention because something comes up and you feel like, no, I have to give that attention now. So it's being really, really in alignment with the um, with the present moment and sensing and responding to what's happening. That's ultimately what we want to shift to. That's ultimately when we want to shift to this higher frequency. And it's in our current paradigm, we literally are controlling our lives with this, again, this Jenga play. I like this analogy so much. When the head of the Jenga, the top of the tower, gets so heavy that we're literally trying to control life and trying to make things happen and force things to happen and make sure that our expectations are met and make sure that our job is successful and make sure that our relationships are healthy, and we're just forcing it a lot. And then we get so tired. No wonder we get so tired. There's too much focus on the head, on the mind, and on control, that we don't even sense where we are in that moment. And this is something that I, at least, I need to learn to play with it. I need to learn to, and I'm still learning every day. Like, wow, when I shared about the emotional guidance, where it takes you out of balance, and it's the only thing you need to know. Like this morning, I was reading something, and just out of nowhere, I felt this feeling of, well, nervousness, anxiety. I can't even describe it. It was just something like a discomfort. So then I stopped reading, and I just sensed, and I breathed through that sensation to release it without getting into the story again. So that's why I got my groundness and my alignment back into my space, and then I could open up again to what I was reading. And it's again, it's not necessary to know all these stories. It's not necessary to know what all these signals, these emotional signals and signs mean as such. But if your life is too much out of balance, big signs will big signs, sorry, will show up. Definitely. And those are the moments that you should not ignore them. Those are the moments where you really need to pay attention and ask yourself, like, okay, what did I overlook? What is not in balance in my life? What in that area did I really overlook for so long? And where did I not see what I was doing? So if you suddenly lose your job, even in these times when it's almost like we can almost rationalize why we can lose our job, because the economy is going downwards, and lots of people will lose their job, then still, why is that you lose the job? That's the question then. And then secondly, it is, okay, but what does that tell me? What should I do next? Is it perhaps a sign to just shift things and take ownership over my life and really define and feel what I love doing and follow my path and take the loss of a job as an opportunity to do something that I really love doing? So every sign in life, everything where it's out of balance, every time where actually the tower of the Jenga tower just gets like wobbly before it falls down, or you feel like certain areas in this tower are really out of balance. There are too many holes there. It's draining. It's energy draining. It's constantly energy draining. That's where you really have to feel into and become self-reflective and self-honest. Like, what am I missing here? And you don't need to go into long sessions of therapy to get insight in it. Just feel into it and be self-honest and reflect with yourself. Like, okay, what can I change here? And not everything is solved in the same minute, but already gaining this insight and knowing that there's something out of balance and surrender to that uncertainty. Like, okay, for instance, if you're single and you like to find a new partner in life, you know you cannot control that process. You know you cannot like actively force that to happen. But acknowledging that it's out of balance for you, acknowledging that you desire one and deserve a beautiful partner, and that your self-worth and self-love is there or is not there, but then it should be worked on, so you can receive this new partner in your life. You can welcome this partner in your life. You can attract this new partner in your life. That's where this draining energy is becoming less. And that's where you just literally surrender to, okay, I'm just open to what life shows me. I don't have expectations. I don't have a specific agenda around this new partner. I don't have something like it should be like this or this or this. I don't have a long list. I'm just open to receive this new partner, and I drop it then in that moment. I drop the expectations. But then in that moment when you are surrendering to the area, like, okay, I understand what was out of balance. I've healed it, or I've paid attention to it, or I worked on self-love and self-esteem, and I healed the pains underneath it. Then that area, even though it's not like fulfilled already in the perfect sense, but then you can drop that area in the sense that it doesn't cost you energy anymore. Then it becomes like, okay, I'm opening up to abundance, and I'm ready to receive. Do you understand the difference? It's like we really have letting go of this old paradigm, the third paradigm. We really have to let go of that things have to be okay and in balance right in that moment. Um, so we really have to understand that the linear time is actually what's making us out of balance all the time, because we want to make it happen now. If something is out of balance, we want to have a solution now. But that can happen if we completely surrender to the process and tap into the organizational principles of synchronicity. But we're often not that skilled yet. So we often need to surrender first and trust life at a deeper level that it will be okay. And acknowledge where we have ignored ourselves, acknowledge where we've been out of balance. Just trying to read a question. Okay, this question is about how to handle triggers. Well, triggers are again it's the same as the tower of the Jenga game. When you take this block out of, you have to pull this block out of the stack, out of the tower, and then it becomes like it's stuck. You try to pull out, you take out this block, but it's stuck. So you try to, like, you cannot touch any other of the blocks if you play the game well. So you try to move it without the tower to fall down. Actually, in that moment, you're really triggered. It's the same as a trigger moment. Sometimes a trigger moment can just literally, how do you say that? It can just literally freeze you, because something comes up, and that just like you're freezing so much that you cannot move, you cannot change, and that's the same as the stuckness. And actually, you should not change in that moment, but just deeply, deeply dive into the discomfort of that moment. And if this is around health, then ask yourself, where is it that I'm not serving my health? Where is it that I'm not in okay with my health, with my balance of my health? Why is it that I choose to be unhealthy? Why is that I choose not to do exercise? Because every time I just postpone this thing. Where is it I choose to be um, okay with that the outer world should solve my health issues? Because we all have ownership over our health. Even though when we're born with a very challenging health, we still have ownership over, and we have a self-healing body, self-healing mechanism. We all have that. And for some, it's more challenging because apparently their journey shows up more challenges in their health system. And that's their way to learn and to grow. For me personally, it's not my health, but it's my relationships that are always showing me the challenges. And so we all have our sensitivities in certain areas, but that's where we learn to grow. So when we avoid these triggers that show us actually like, okay, when every time when you're triggered, it's a sign that something is out of balance. And the only thing you can do is just do the self reflection, the deep, deep inner self reflection, and take ownership and take steps and just be honest with yourself. If I'm not treating myself healthy, even if I don't treat it emotionally healthy, because I'm constantly allowing stress to happen, allowing fear to be there, then look into the fear, look into the stress elements, and stop this rationalizing mind. Stop this narrative monkey mind that constantly tells you stories that someone else needs to solve your problem, that you cannot do anything about your health, that you cannot do anything about your relationship, whatever it is. The trigger, it doesn't really matter what the trigger is, in which area it is. When it's a trigger, it's a trigger. And when you pull too hard, from the Jenga tower again as an analogy, the tower falls. So it's not about ignoring it by pulling this trigger out and just push it away, suppressing it again. It's literally facing like, okay, it's stuck here. And just, and then halt, stop your life actually for a moment and just feel within, okay, what do I need to show? What do I need to learn? What is it showing me? And it's in all areas of your life. But what we mostly do is we tend to ignore things. We tend to just push it away, like, oh, that feels uncomfortable. So I push it away. I will deal with that next month or next year. Or first, I need to focus on this. And then I will deal with something else. But that's now not how life actually works for you. Then you're actually working against the nature of life. And that costs a lot of energy. And then it falls down eventually. And a bigger event shows up. So balance is key. Balance in all areas of your life to an extent that you can influence it. And if you cannot influence it anymore, then you have to surrender and heal what's not healed inside you. Because when you're healed completely, life will be flowing and effortlessly, and it will show you the path. It will show you the path. And it might not be an easy path. I mean, we all have our own journeys. I don't know what yours is. And we all have our struggles. And for some, it seems from an outer perspective a bigger struggle than for others. But that's also because we have labeled a perfect life. So if I label perfect life according to my definition, then anyone who has a lesser life to my label seems to be in more struggle. But that might not be true. A person who might have financially or in material way nothing can be super happy and at peace and be completely okay. Whereas the person who desires wealth and, and material things might already feel empty and out of balance when that's not happening. So it's always going back to this inner alignment. What is natural for you? What feels literally natural for you? What's in alignment with you? And we know that, we can sense that, but we have to learn to use this physical instrument we have been giving. And especially in the health area, we have to learn that instrument when it's out of balance and not ignore it and just walk on and take another pill to solve the problem or eat lousy food to solve the problem and to ignore the emotional disturbance that's underneath it. Because it almost is in some sort of emotional disturbance. Or you picked something up out of the field if you're highly sensitive on these physical issues. I know some people are really highly awakened, but at the same time challenged a lot with physical challenges. Apparently, it's their path to go through all these physical disbalances, as it's for them a way of learning their lessons or learning the lessons of the collective and heal it for the collective. So nothing is completely personal. Everything that's out of balance is also out of balance in our collective. That's the current paradigm we're in. The current paradigm is out of balance because we are too much in our mind, too much in the control sense, and we like to force things to happen, and we are choosing the role of the victim instead of owning our life and owning our responsibility and take ownership of our steps and our thoughts and our actions and our feelings. And if we would all do that, yes, then there will be abundance for everyone. There is enough on this planet. There are enough resources. There is enough knowledge to heal and to become healthy. There's enough people to connect with. There's enough potential partners to fall in love with. There's not just one soulmate waiting for you. I don't believe that. But there will be one in this time and space that you can connect to right now if that's on your top of your list of desires. And there is this perfect job that you love doing. And then it's not a job anymore, then it becomes life. So feel into all these different areas and feel where it's out of balance and feel where you're draining yourself too much. It's so valuable to move from. And again, tap into this alignment and learn to sense, learn to use this vehicle. Learn to know what your alignment is, where it's draining or it's out of balance. You can only sense that when you know how to sense your balanced alignment. And then you can also understand what real joy is and what peace is and what empowerment is and what excitement is. We have to know the other side first before in order to understand the positive side of things. Okay, it's getting too long already. I always want to keep this into 20 minutes, but let's see, it's a little bit longer. So I hope this one helped. I really love this analogy to the Jenga game. And if you don't know this game, I'll post a picture on Facebook and Instagram so you can see how it looks like. And I'll see you back again tomorrow. Bye for now.